Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. I am super excited to have a session today with some amazing individuals that are going to bring some amazing stories to the front and really showcase what's possible out there when you have all parties involved, all people working together in the progress and success of what we call this re-entry journey, which, as we all know, starts from the very beginning of incarceration and beyond. So I am super excited today to have several speakers in this conversation. And because of the sake of time, and I know that they have a lot to talk about and a lot of information to provide, I am going to be going straight into our speaker introductions. And today we have the honor to be here together with Erica King. Erica is a senior manager for future projects. She is SEP, where she directs initiatives that are part of the National Resource Center of Justice Involved Women. Ms. King focuses on addressing the unique needs of impacted women across the justice system, including pretrial justice, sentencing, corrections, and community supervision. She delivers technical assistance to jurisdictions and agencies with a focus on evidence-based, trauma-informed approaches and creates resources to help the field better understand the implications for women who are involved in criminal justice system. Prior to joining SEP, Ms. King worked for 2 decades as a senior policy associate at Muskie School of Public Service, directing a results-focused portfolio aimed at improving the opportunity landscape of emerging adults. She's alumnus of the Applied Leadership Network of Annie Casey Foundation, a member of the International Motivational Interviewing Network Trainers. Oh, nice. Didn't know that part. Mint. And an adjunct faculty of Colby College. She has co-authored policy briefs, evaluations, and interventions aimed at creating whole people and communities. Ms. King has a master's in social work degree from University of Southern Maine and serves as a policy leader across hyper-local and national initiatives. Ms. King is joined today with 2 of her colleagues, and I'll let her introduce them further, but I'm just super excited and super blessed to be here with you guys. So thank you for joining us today. Ms. King.
Thank you so much, Judith. That's such a generous and kind introduction, and thank you so much for being here. I want to yield the floor to my amazing colleagues, Darlene, George, and Ashley Mackie, who I am so glad to have join me today. They are leaders with me on an initiative at CEPP that we call Opportunity Scholars. And it's an effort to support people with lived experience in the justice system, currently and formerly incarcerated, to grow personally and professionally and academically through access to higher education and remote work opportunities, and to find their way in fulfilling careers in community through healing-centered work. And so we focus our work on gender justice, and I am so proud to have Darlene and Ashley joining me and talking with us all today about the work that they are leading in Opportunity Scholars around our Justice Coding Lab. So I'll pass it to you, Darlene, and then we'll hear from Ashley.
Yes. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Darlene George, and currently I'm at Maine Correctional Facility. I serve as right now as the lead scholar for Opportunity Scholars, which is not an easy thing to do. We definitely we focus on building leadership, workforce, education, and advocacy pathways. While working with Opportunity Scholars, I had the opportunity to work remotely. This is my 3rd year working in the healthcare field. I definitely appreciate the opportunity. While I'm just still the only one working remotely in the medium facility, we are advocating for others to be able to do the same. We have our hands in so many avenues, but I'm going to save that for later conversation. And I'm going to pass it on to Ashley Mackie.
Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here. My name's Ashley Mackie. I am an Opportunity Scholar, and I've been one for, I think, about 1.5 years. I currently attend UMA full time for advocacy, social justice, and public policy, and recently got my paralegal certification. And I was recently hired by the Institute of Justice as an intern, so I'm super excited for that. I was lucky enough to be the teacher's assistant for our coding cohort and watch these women gain the confidence and the experience that they really wanted and needed to know that they can be successful when they leave here. So we just look forward to showing you what everyone did today.
Amazing. And for those that are following along and trying to figure out what, Maine Department of Corrections, who I should shout out for their partnership in allowing us to do this work, passed the first in the nation policy for remote work. I won't say that Opportunity Scholars should take credit for that, but we definitely have contributed to building a trail and being able to pay our scholars, our incarcerated scholars, for their remote work as 1099 employees. So I put in the chat the remote work policy for DOC, as well as the agreement and conditions that incarcerated folks have to sign. And so for anybody that's watching, what that means is I have agreements where I'm able to hire, and any of you watching, if you want to hire if you have jobs, we are actively building our employer pipeline as well, and pathway as well, to have people work remotely. And so what we hope to be doing is building a community of credible living credible messengers that are literally blazing a trail. So Ashley, do you want to talk about Show Your Good Time app calculator, and we'll give you a sense of what we mean by the Justice Coding Lab and what we've been doing this year with technology?
Yeah, let me pull up the video.
And I also put some links into our Justice Coding Lab. So with private funder investment, and with a lot of heart and integrity with Darlene, and smarts with Darlene and Ashley, and some deep partnerships, we've been able to get some collective impact this year to bring together our first cohort.
Too often, individuals face violations not because they're unwilling to comply, but because systems don't align with real life challenges like transportation, scheduling, communication, mental health. And those are some barriers that cannot be ignored. Unlike other tracking or reporting tools, Empower Trust allows both the client and the officer to set goals, confirm progress, and document support actions. It transforms supervision into collaboration, empowering both sides to build consistency, communication, and trust. It's meaningful to create something that blends technology with compassion and real world changing. What can I tell you about the unique features of the app? Well, there's a few. Two-way accountability tracker. Both parties can document commitments and follow through with transparency. Wellness and Progress Dashboard encourages users to track goals related to health, employment, and stability. Smart Reminders sends personalized alerts for appointments, job interviews, and/or curfew time. Support Connection Hub links users to community resources, mentors, and wellness tools. Reflection Journal offers space for self-reflection, personal growth, helping users to stay grounded during supervision. And how could the app make a difference in someone's life? Empower Trust can turn supervision into a stepping stone rather than a setback. And I'm going to repeat that again. Empower Trust can turn supervision into a stepping stone rather than a setback. by emphasizing trust, transparency, and shared responsibility. It helps reduce recidivism, promotes emotional well being, and gives people a fair chance to rebuild their lives with dignity and respect. The one thing I can say about my creation is that Empower Trust isn't just an app, it's a bridge between accountability and humanity. It's about believing when systems trust people, people rise to meet that trust and the occasion. So, in closing, this isn't just about supervision, it's about transformation. Empower Trust helps people rebuild trust, stay connected, and move forward. It's more than an app, it's a step forward towards freedom, one that believes in balance, fairness, and hope. Empower Trust, redefining what justice looks like, feels like, and should be.
Hi, I'm Ashley Mackie, and my project is True Record. True Record solves the crisis of inaccurate hand-calculated release dates that create profound uncertainty for residents and families, particularly here in the Maine DOC. I came up with the idea because as a resident, I saw firsthand how calculation errors disrupted lives. I knew the only ethical solution was a precise digital system. What I enjoyed most about creating it was designing the system to be completely transparent, which fundamentally guarantees accurate and a fair outcome for all users. The most unique feature of True Record is the secure multi-portal system that gives direct access to the resident, family, attorney, and caseworker, transforming confusion into collaborative transparency. True Record makes a difference by replacing error-prone processes with digital precision and human dignity. It gives people the reliable information they need to confidently plan for their future. We'll start by logging into the staff portal. Tapping View Residents takes us to the resident list showing all key information. The resident details screen shows the personal information, sentence details, and a resident summary at the bottom. Notice the current good time earned, the record of discipline records, and the calculated projected release date. Now let's see how easy it is to update records. Tapping on discipline records and choosing Add First Record allows us to quickly log a new incident such as slept-through count. The summary immediately updates, reflecting one record of discipline. Below, we can track months incarcerated, the earliest release date, and the SCCP eligibility. Tapping Warrant Search allows staff to perform a real-time nationwide search. We can see here that this resident has an active felony warrant with an extradition hold. Now let's explore the what-if simulator. By adjusting variables like potential infractions, extra program months, and sentence reduction from programs, we can instantly see how different scenarios impact both the projected and earliest release dates. For complete transparency, the calculation breakdown provides a step-by-step audit of how the release dates were determined for each case. Under credits, we manage and view the resident's progress. Here in monthly participation, we can easily add credit for successful completion of a program like education. Viewing the education program provides a record of participation dates and eligibility. Tapping the participation in custody link under a charge allows us to drill down into the sentence. On the case participation screen, we can adjust the custody level and credit the resident for work completed, such as community work. The add charge form gives the staff the ability to enter new case information, sentence details, and manage consecutive or concurrent serving status. Staff can efficiently filter the resident list by key demographics, for example, viewing only transgender residents. Adding a new resident is straightforward. The new resident form captures essential demographic, sentence, and custody information. The add record, a quick action, allows us to immediately enter a discipline or education record for any resident. Finally, the reports dashboard gives staff the ability to analyze trends across the population, including recent discipline and upcoming releases, and export data as needed. Now let's switch views and log in as a resident. The resident portal provides a clear, concise view of their case. They can see those on their charges and good time. Residents have direct and secure access to support their team. Tapping attorney communications opens a secured chat where they can send messages and share documents like a contract review. Similarly, the caseworker communication feature allows the resident to easily check in on progress, sharing documents like a work plan or progress report. The resident also has the ability to view any education programs they're involved in or work programs they're involved in, along with any disciplinary action that they have had against them. Finally, here's a preview of the forthcoming family portal designed to keep family members informed of key dates and progress, fostering a supportive environment.
Discover how Unify Us empowers parents to overcome systemic challenges and regain hope.
And a future better than our own. Hi, I'm Christy, and I am the creator of Unify Us. This web app came from a deeply painful experience of my own. 18 years ago, after a long, hard battle with the Department of Children and Family Services, I was left with no other choice but to voluntarily sign my parental rights over. At the time, I was a single mother who had already overcome so much, growing up in foster care myself, surviving domestic abuse, and working hard to stay clean and sober. I truly believe that those things would count for something, that the department would see my efforts, acknowledge my progress, and help me secure safe housing and whatever else I needed so I could continue building a healthy, stable life for my kids. But that wasn't the case. I didn't understand my rights. My court appointed attorney wasn't advocating for me. And even though I did everything expected of me, I still lost my children because the system said I could not ensure my children's safety. As parents, we all want the same thing, to give our children love, stability, and a future better than our own. As a child who grew up in the foster system, losing my own was devastating. It broke something inside of me, and for a while I lost my purpose, and I slipped back into my addiction. The result of that addiction, my incarceration, became my saving grace, the turning point that gave me a new purpose. I had realized that my experience was not unique, that there are so many parents, especially those impacted by incarceration, who are separated from their children and trying to navigate impossible systems with almost no support or access to technology.
So I think we're going to pause there for a moment, just because it can be overwhelming to watch all of these back to back. But those are three apps that these amazing opportunity scholars have developed from start to finish. Our cohort had some people that obviously came to prison with multiple degrees and already had education, and obviously some folks that had not touched a computer in years and maybe didn't even have a GED yet. And so we tried to pick a representative cohort. And what's amazing about the power of women, and what I always learn is that, and relearn, is that women can take care of each other and do when we're given the conditions to do that and the support to do it. So again, would love to pass it back to Ashley and Darlene to talk about a little bit about the process of like challenge-based learning. And all our assignment, I guess, was to, and our vision was to see what we could do with technology to, as you say, unlock higher education, unlock minds, and build it in a challenge-based learning model. To think about, what is a challenge that you face in your community, and what is one thing you could do, we could design or imagine with technology. If we were to reimagine something about the system, what could we reimagine that would help make it better and reduce some unnecessary suffering? So Ashley and Darlene, do you want to talk a little bit about the process of creating and how you came up with that and why? And we don't have Christy here with us today, but that certainly the intersection of parental incarceration and incarceration is something that is a deep driver and pain point and important part of healing for all of this work. So
Yeah.
Darlene?
So I'll go first. So just imagine being incarcerated and feeling like you're not worthy of anything. Um, your life is done. You're not going to amount to very much because people don't treat you that way. And then here comes this program that can actually make you feel like you can accomplish something, that you're worthy, and that you can do it. And that's what we did. This program was designed with us in mind, with the challenges that IT knew we probably will have, what Erica knew the women the problems we go through here. So all of that was taken into consideration. They came up with this program. We did it in 5.5 months, I believe. And that course was like a year and a half course. And we did it. And the surprising thing was we had someone in that class that hadn't even received her high set. She was doing her high set along with learning this class, and she succeeded at both. And the only reason she was able to do that is because this was the first time I had ever seen the women come together to act as one, which is a hard thing to do. And that's exactly what we did. It was no man left behind. Everybody worked with one another and helped each other. There was long days, long nights. There was days that we really wanted to just take the device and hit the wall, quit the program. But as soon as someone started to feel discouraged, we was like, no, we're not doing that. How can we help? What can we do? Do you need extra time? Let's set time aside. There were plenty of days and nights that me and Ashley was continually back to back working on things or working with the women to make sure that they felt okay enough to continue this program. Um, I myself, I was so happy to see the progress. I mean, we had women that never spoke in front of people. We had women that would cry every time they got up to even talk about what they were developing because each app was personal to each person. So it came with a backstory, and all of those backstories happened to these people. So in the end, we have people standing up, talking about their app, conveying the message, and wanting to continue. Even we have people that got out after the program, still wanting to continue with the program. So it works. We finally got something that works and people feel like they're worth something. And so I can go on and on with this, but I'm sure Ashley has some things that she would love to talk about. And I mean, it's just really good knowing that we can be a bridge to something and someone and they can get across and on the other side and wave and say, I made it. Look at me, I'm on the other side now. And now what can I do to help the rest of the women that's still on the side? Because that's what's happening. And so with Ashley, I'm gonna pass that to you.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. And I was one of those people who, before I became a part of Opportunity Scholars, I didn't like speaking in front of anyone. You could barely get me to say 3 words in front of anyone. And I was just actually telling Darlene and Erica that, like, because of their help and their support and what they do for the women, they helped me get to where I am today. This program helped me get the encouragement and everything that I needed to be successful today and for when I go home. And watching us pass that on to the other women in the program has been such an amazing experience. Um, like Darlene said, seeing the other women who didn't want to get up in front of an audience and present their projects, but they did it anyways. And it was so powerful to watch them do that. I mean, they would spend hours. I'd be on a Zoom with Darlene, and they would be spending hours in the little classroom all together, huddled up, trying to make sure everyone got across that finish line. People who didn't talk to each other were getting together and working with one another. We did not want to see anyone left behind. So it was, and even though everyone's apps pertain to themselves and what they've been through, every single one of us women can relate to why the other person chose to make that app. And I think that's what made it even more powerful. We could all talk with one another and throw ideas out at one another of what, oh, maybe you can do this to it or add that. And it just, coming together as a collective was extremely valuable and powerful for all of us.
Yeah. And so Ashley, do you think that people were able to do this because everybody had that experience? that they had that lived experience and
Yeah,
didn't feel ashamed or embarrassed about what they had to talk about or what the results may have been.
yeah. I think, knowing that you're not alone in your journey definitely helps, especially as women, us to grow and want to help other people so they don't have to go through the same things. So I definitely think that played a part in it.
Yeah, I believe so too. And also, I can say is that for the ones that did get out and still wanted to continue the program, um, we do hear from them, and it just it opened up something for them. It lit something in them that wanted them to continue to do something positive with their life because people always count us out of things
Mhm.
and say that you can't do this and you can't do that. But the people that got out was ready to continue, ready to get a job, ready to show the world, yep, I'm here and I can do it, which is awesome because that's what we want. We want people to see that just because you've been incarcerated, don't count people out.
You're still
Invite
valuable.
them in, invite them in and say, hey, how can I help you? What can I do? With a little nourishing, people can flourish so much instead of just counting people out. How about helping people out?
And especially because you're incarcerated. Um, I think, it's no surprise to this audience and for folks that are watching this, but some of our best and brightest minds are locked up and maybe don't have access always to higher education. And I love everything that you said about sort of the bridge and building this pipeline of human beings. And I think, in my mind, that's the best use of opportunity scholars is how do we use our power and privilege to create access and opportunity and freedom and healing and liberation with the next person, right? Wherever we sit in this hierarchy. And Judith, I know you're going to help us, think about things we haven't even done yet around entrepreneurship. Because as much as we love, um, higher education, and we know for the tech industry, for some women, we are still building our employer network. And so anybody watching this, if this inspires something in you around entrepreneurship or an opportunity to test these ideas or help protect these ideas or help nurture and grow these ideas, we want to build partnerships with you and with this network and coalition of folks that have been trying to build opportunities like this and build networks like this. And we hope to be a hub for that in Maine to help other people to do it. So the bridges maybe are longer bridges, but they're stronger bridges.
Yeah,
Yes, sure.
that's great statement, Erica. I wanted to know a little bit more because I mean it's amazing to me the work that is being done, and I obviously is also the trust that has been provided to you ladies, and I'm sure that you've won that trust with the hard work that you've put forth. So you're not just teaching coding, you're helping participants apply those skills just to related projects and policy change. So I wanted to know a little bit more, like, and we can start maybe with you, Darlene, with your
Hmm.
project. Can you walk me through what that would look like in practice, and how would somebody be using that tool, and who is your audience for that app that you've been creating?
Okay. So for me, when I thought about that project, because I've never been on probation, but I've been doing recovery coaching for over 10 years at this point, and most of the women come in here on a technical violation. So they lose their housing, their kids, their job, they lose everything. And because of not committing a new crime, but not following a rule that was set for them to follow. Which to me absolutely makes no sense, but who am I? So I look at the women and I look at everything that they lost, and I was like, there has to be a better way. And so, in the one of the policy initiatives that me and Erica was working on, we did these listening sessions. And in it too, the women were talking about how degrading it was when probation would come to their house or give them rules to follow that absolutely didn't make any sense. You need to be in my office by 8 or 8:15 when they have to take their kids to school at that time. So there was no negotiating, there was no taking life into consideration. So with this app, it does all of that. It takes life into consideration. So if you have a job, you should be able to zoom in with your probation officer and still keep your job. If you have an appointment with anger management, instead of having to leave work, you can do your appointment on your app. You can zoom in to your recovery coach for if you feeling triggered for any type of reason, you can zoom in for help. You can, hey, this is how I'm feeling today. Um, I just need a little bit of coaching right now. Especially mental health. A lot of mental health is not taken into consideration. You can zoom in to do your telehealth. Anything that is needed for you to succeed as a human being, I try to think of to add to this. You can journal throughout the day and go back in a week or two's time to say, okay, on these days I was feeling these things. Well, why was that? Or I was triggered on these days. Who was I around? What was going on at that time that I felt triggered in that moment? So you can go back and reflect, and it can kind of let you know, hey, on these days you was triggered, was, so you can go back and reflect on the things that's happening. And I know a lot of times too, when people have appointments with probation, if they go and the person is not there and they're calling, sometimes they'll say you never showed up. Well, there's a record of if you're trying to zoom in with your probation officer, there's a trail. There's a trail for everything that's electronic. So they cannot say, oh, you didn't show up, or I asked for this paperwork, because if you can scan it in and send it over, you can most certainly do so. So it's just designed so that all of those little nuances that can cause you to come back are taken care of. And again, like I've seen so many people to see women losing their children for technical violations is not okay. This is not okay. And Maine is one of those states that's quick to snatch your children. So coming back here and losing everything. And this is why when the women are in here, they feel helpless, hopeless, and feel like they have nothing else to live for because they were stripped of everything. So what is there for them to want to do better? So it's so much work to get us to feel like we're worthy, to make us feel like, hey, I can do it, or I have something that can make me get to the next step. So if Empower Trust can be that thing that can stand between you and your probation officer, you and anger management, all the life things that they have in your contract that you need to follow, then that's exactly why I did that. This is exactly why. And again, I've never been on probation, for all the stories, 10 years worth of hearing, and then I think it was like 6 months worth of listening sessions with Erica, CEPP. And I was just floored by one lady said she literally had to borrow money to go to a mandated anger management session. She didn't have the money. Then she didn't have a ride because she didn't have a license. So she had to have a grandmother pick her up, had to borrow money. So you just digging all of these holes when they don't need to be digged. So there's an easier way to do everything, and they don't take that into consideration. And my thing is, like it says, is a stepping stone. So let that be the stepping stone to a better life. And any chance that you may have of succeeding out there on probation.
That's amazing. And just to think, life along, when you've been detached from society for a certain period of time could be overwhelming. Just, the day-to-day activities and everything that you're responsible for could be overwhelming. So just to think to have something at hand that can at least, put things in focus for you and organize kind of like, so as you mentioned, a lot of the times it's just technical violations. It's a mistake. It's a misunderstanding. It's something that you unintentionally forgot, and that lands you back into prison. So having a tool like this that can kind of like mentally organize you, it's amazing because it hits you hard, it hits you fast, and sometimes, even the most well-intended individuals can't hack, the situations that they're facing because of the stressors that are coming at you on at different occasions at the same time.
Yeah, that's true. And when I was doing it, because definitely I had my Miss Mackie in my ear the whole time. That was my person. And she was like, you need to make sure smart reminders in there because sometimes people have so much going on in life. That is at least one thing that can say, hey, remember you have an appointment today. You need to be doing these things today. So that's so important for people that's juggling so many things in life on a daily basis.
Wonderful. So thank you for thinking of that. And Ashley, can you tell me a little bit more also about how this end user part of the application will be, out there implemented in real life, real day-to-day work?
Yeah, so I'm originally Darlene and I, before the coding lab, were sitting down and we were planning on making a good time app, and we were just building it on Excel. And then we were kind of told we had to stop. So when this coding lab came about, I took the idea and ran with it. Um, Originally, it started out, it was just going to be a calculator. Just anyone could sign on and type in their information and see what their release date would be with all their good time. But I kind of transformed it into a software for not only for the Department of Corrections, but for family members so they can sign in on to their account and see what their loved one's release date is, their earliest release date, when their home confinement date is. I made a resident portal so the residents can go on and see all the same thing. But not only that, they can see what discipline they've been involved in. They can see what education programs they're involved in, if it's getting put towards their good time. There's a what if simulator not only for the staff but for the residents, so they can see, okay, if I continue with education and continue with getting the 9 days a month, how is that going to affect my good time? Or if I get in trouble, how much good time am I going to lose? The residents can also, there's a settings, so if they want to share that information with their family who have an account, their family can see, okay, they haven't been getting in trouble, okay, they've been involved in school, and maybe start building that trust and that transparency back up. I know, like, there's been some issues here with people getting inaccurate good time dates. They've been told you're supposed to get a lock-in date 90 days before you're released, and I've seen people get told a month before they're released, oh, I'm sorry, we messed up, it's actually a month later. And that sucks for people. You start making plans to see your kids and find a job, you get housing, it's all set up, and then you get told, oh, you can't get released for a month later. That affects you negatively. Your family could think that you lied to them or you are getting in trouble, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And I feel like sometimes DOC doesn't take that into consideration. So I wanted something that's fair for everyone involved, transparent for everyone involved. There's an audit log so you can see, a staff member can see who changed what on what date to make sure that it is accurate and that someone's not messing around with it. So I really wanted to take everyone's side into consideration. I made an attorney portal so if people still have cases going on while they're here or child custody cases going on, they can communicate with their attorneys in a secured private manner. They can upload documents and share it with them. They can message them real time. And then I also made the caseworker portal to kind of do the same thing. They can caseworkers and residents can upload documents, message each other back and forth, just to kind of alleviate some of that stress on them on both sides. Like, seeing casework is hard, especially for the women. You got 100 women down here, you got 2 caseworkers. Same with up the hill where Darlene is. 100 women, 2 caseworkers. That's not, it's not feasible. So having that extra system in place, I think, would just alleviate some of that stress and some of those concerns of they're not getting my slips I'm putting into them, or they're just not responding. There's just that transparent and accountability with my app that I wanted to drive right in.
It sounds to me like it would be like your own virtual case manager. And not only would it help alleviate, the burden of the staff that sometimes is very, depleted, but also it will give you a little bit more control of where you're headed, where your steps and what your goals are, because you're on time with all the work that you're doing towards your release, or ultimately, your pathing to freedom. So that sounds like a win-win situation to me as well. So how do you see staff? How do you see your user, or who is your market? Like, who would be your market in this case? And how can you pitch something like that to your market individuals, so that they see the benefit and the use and the alleviation that something like this could bring, not only for ownership of your own trajectory as an incarcerated person, but also the alleviation that comes to the facility and the staff?
And I think that's going to be the hard part for me, because I think the market for my app is Department of Corrections. So to see, I'd have to pitch it to them to make them see that it's not only a benefit to them, but it's a benefit for everyone. It holds everyone accountable, and I feel like sometimes they don't like that. So it's going to be a hard sell, but I do think it would benefit everyone. You would have less paperwork going to classifications, going to caseworkers. Everything could be all digital. It is 2026. Why are we still hand calculating good time dates? Why are we using Excel spreadsheets for everyone in a facility with all their information? That is unacceptable nowadays. There's no reason for it. Again, it is 2026. We need to upgrade and stop being stuck in the ruralness of where we are.
And I think, if I can jump in, I think, Judith, you mentioned the idea of how much trust it has taken for us to build. And I appreciate you use that word, and I don't take it lightly. Especially being a white woman in this space, working with incarcerated people. I do not want to exploit their labor in any way. And trust with a system such as a correction system is a one-on-one relationship build with every person that works in that system. And I wouldn't say that I have universal trust, but if I've had long-term partnerships and proximity of working carefully with folks inside and outside this thin blue line. And I think what we have tried to demonstrate this year is that when the women are better off, not tried to, we have demonstrated, when the women are better off inside, so are the staff. And the collective solidarity of everybody, including DOC staff, is involved with this project. And so I want to give a shout out to Ken Shaw, a DOC employee and IT person who worked with me right alongside these women, much harder than I on the technical parts of it, in terms of figuring out how to code and how to get access and how to preserve access for women, and how to put guidelines of when the internet needs to be open and when it needs to be closed, and when we've had to make hard decisions together as a group when someone needed to step back for a moment because that was too much, too much. And I think Maine Department of Corrections, when we first started down this, if I wish we had maybe our warden and some of our staff here with us. He made a comment recently, like, you didn't do what I thought you were going to do, Erica, which is like, and I was like, well, what was that? And I think the worst fear maybe was that we were going to come out and create a bunch of apps that were going to attack or advocate or shine a spotlight on system deficiencies. And while we are lifting those up, we're doing it in a way that these system deficiencies are all of us to bear and all of us to fix. And it's not, pointing the finger at one individual person, but it's making a proposal about how we could work better and smarter together. And so Ashley's app is probably the one of the 11 apps that we have that gets the closest at DOC policy. And so we still have work to do to see, but I'm hopeful about that work because when we had our most recent permissions meeting and I shared a bit about this app, they were like, well, wait a minute, how did she get all our data to test it? And it's really in a sandbox and it's fictitious data. But I think the day that, people are really impressed by Ashley and by Darlene and what they've done. And it's amazing. And so I think we do have an opportunity to continue to build right in this moment in May 2026. We haven't even been at this project of trying to build this coding lab for a year. People couldn't even imagine what we were doing. Darlene and Ashley could always see it with me, but sometimes we don't even know the full arc of what we're building because it's still emergent and it's bigger than all of us. But it includes staff at DOC being better off too, and not, like Ashley said, not having to field a million questions and, disagree or stand for a spreadsheet or a policy that might be outdated or unjust, and just giving people the most state-of-the-art tools that we would have if we worked in a medical facility. We'd want to have the best science of medicine, and we need the same in our correctional institutions. Human dignity deserves the same. So all of these apps have a component of dignity, and it includes everyone's dignity, including the end user. Empower Trust is, like Darlene said, a two-way accountability system. The same thing that Christy designed for, the intersection of child welfare is for the caseworker and the parent and the primary caregiver and that child. These are not zero-sum arguments. It's a collective impact kind of policy strategy that we are trying to build with technology together.
I see somebody has their hand up.
Hi, yeah, I just had a couple
Oh,
questions and a couple things as I was listening to you. For those who aren't following us, I have a background in programming, so I'm a little bit of an IT nerd. So I wanted to take a moment to actually ask some of the technical questions that likely don't get asked out of you, if you wouldn't mind. I know that Ashley is a certified Apple program. I also know you, Darlene, are an Apple programmer. I'm not sure if it's certified or not. Sometimes it doesn't get put
no.
into paperwork. I'm sure it's coming. My question would be, is we're seeing an explosion of apps like the T app or other apps that are something referred to as vibe coding, which I'm sure you guys understand what that means. They use artificial intelligence to program and build that. And I know somebody who builds apps myself, the background and the coding and what you guys are doing is totally a different function than just going in and asking AI to build that. My question here is, I know that usually that makes a better product, but how do you guys feel that influences or builds a difference between somebody who would be selling an app to the Department of Corrections that's just kind of quickly vibe coded without those security regulations and pieces placed into it?
So I know, like, our instructor for the coding lab, she was really big on AI, and it was something me and Darlene really struggled with getting behind. But I will say, seeing some of the women feel confident because they used AI and it helped them was great to watch. They at least got something out of it. They could come up with their product and still feel successful, and like they were still moving with the world even though they're here. I personally, like, I've learned to have no issues with AI. I just think that people just need to be aware of what you're bringing and what you're actually selling to people if you're going to use it.
And shout out to the amazing Shanice Brown, whose link in bio I put in the chat, with whom none of this would be possible, because I want to point out I know just enough about coding to be dangerous. But I think that your question could be a whole nother session, but I think what we're engaged in right now is like, what are the ethics around the use of AI? I think the greater good, I can put some links in of like, what are some good and bad uses of AI? Obviously, we're working with tech partners where we want to influence that conversation in every space that we can and not opt out of it. But I think you're raising really valid points that we need to be, building that pipeline as well. And so we hope in year 2 of this to continue to build those things. And maybe you can be a thought partner with us about some of those ethical quandaries that we will continue to encounter in this tech universe.
I definitely have some opinions. Obviously, I come from a very old school background. I absolutely like what you have to say, Ashley, about the idea of the integration. And on my personal blog, where I talk about some of these ideas, I discuss the importance of combining them, obviously. And I like what you have to say about that. Please don't inherently get me wrong. I heard that there are 11 apps that you guys have published. For anybody who's following or reading, how many apps, or if any, at this point are accessible through a Google Play or an App Store? Because we know they could be independently published without being available to the public. Do you guys have apps that are available to the public?
Not at this moment. I think we're still trying to find partners to test them out and see where they can go, and if someone is interested in taking them further. I think that's just at the point we are at right now.
You're so ambitious. I love the questions and help us to do that, but we're on month 9 of a 12-month grant cycle. So you're exactly where we want to go. You're exactly where we want to go, and we hope to develop, like the first, as far as we know, and as far as Apple and NC3 has told us, we are the first place in the world, I think, to have a prison, two DOC staff and a prison certified as a Swift coding site by NC3, where they're able to proctor exams. And Ashley and her colleague were the first to sit for and pass that exam. Ashley and Darlene, I should say, are in 2 different facilities in the same institution. So we've done the testing down the hill, and now we have to do the refresh up the hill. So all of the women that want to get certified can do it. But we have a lot of wood to chop. And I guess the other thing I would say is, we have some employer ideas or some partnerships. Worldwide Technology is Shanice's full-time employer. So we're employing, what can we do to have these employers be potential employers and internship sites or apprenticeship sites? How can we build partnerships? I've been thinking this weekend, we live in Maine, and Tyler Technologies is right in our backyard. They have a courts and corrections division. They hire quoters all the time. So again, we've kind of conceptualized what it could be from a justice policy and tech innovation. And now we need to develop those protections and those other bridges that you're talking about to employers, and to getting these out into the world in real time, so that we can get all those bridges to pathway and well-being that we want to build.
Well,
It's
if you guys have
amazing
any
to
help, please let me know. It's always exciting. One last question, and I swear I'll stop poking my little technical brain into this. You guys mentioned that Apple is involved in Swift programming. I know WWDC is next month. Are you guys getting any access to the developer tools or the pieces and parts that are coming with the new iOS 27, or any of the other developer upgrades that are coming out to the rest of the people who are Swift coding?
No, but you're earning a subcontract here on our next thing, so you can help us think about that.
I'm sorry. Like I said, I've been programming for a while. I will. talk to you outside of this, and I'll
We
send you
need
probably
that.
a
We
couple
need
more
that
tools.
brain. We need that brain to fuel this because we don't know what we don't know. And so what we do know is we have a lot of courage and a lot of heart, and we can leave this system better off than we found it. But we'd love to have a conversation with you about how to do all of that.
And
That's
that's
awesome.
absolutely right. You guys have shown so much courage and so much heart. It also shown the unity and um, the cooperation that can happen inside, but more importantly, not only that, the avenue that it can bring you success when you're outside, right? So these are not just that you're building a family, you're building, individuals that are busy working, constructing and developing and creating on the inside, but you're building pathways to success in their reentry story, in their future. These are things, apps that are not only beneficial for the part of the project, but it's also beneficial for the masses for implementation. That's why my questions are like, who's your audience? Who's your market? How can we put this out there? Because I see so many ways of implementing and being useful for so many different types of populations that it's great that you're building that family and that unity inside, but it's also extremely amazing to me that you have that potential to create something that is going to be meaningful and change in the future beyond those walls that you're currently confined to. So that's why this is so amazing. We need to get these apps out there. We need to get them implemented because they're resourceful, they're useful, and they're really solving a lot of problems that we face today, not only in policy, but also in the world as we see it from formerly and currently incarcerated individuals. Thank you, ladies, for sharing today's session with us, letting us know about this great apps, 11 that have been already produced. And we need to make sure that we get these implemented and out to the masses because they're so useful. And so that's why we want to be those bridges. And again, for those of you who are listening, are viewing this, partnerships to sustain the development of these apps, the implementation of these apps, because they're such useful tools and so necessary tools in today's market. And again, it's also bridging that gap between technology on the outside and technology on the inside, which unfortunately we cannot no longer continue to stretch. We need to narrow that bridge out because that's how society operates. And so if we're really being intentional about making sure that people are equipped to come home to society, they need to have those skill set. So thank you for listening, and we'll be back next month with another speaker. And thank you, ladies, for spending this time. Such phenomenal group. Thank you for sharing all of this information with
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashley and Darlene.
Okay.